and happy Wednesday. It's a motivational Wednesday. I love to always imagine we're at a spa and I'm on the beach. I have a beautiful ocean behind me and a palm tree. To my left, my friend Amelia Fowler is here today. She's up at her room waiting to share words of wisdom with us. I can't wait to interview her and hear what she has to say. Amelia is an actress, an improviser, a writer, a businesswoman, entrepreneur, many skills, and an educator. She teaches, but good morning, VASW family and friends. Happy Wednesday. It's a motivational Wednesday. I'm so excited for you to meet my guest today, Amelia Fowler. I know Amelia through my work. I do some of the improvisation work I've been doing lately. I know Amelia, she's really cool. I know she's going to have some really wonderful words of wisdom to share with us. So it's our Words of Wisdom Wednesday. I just came up with that. I like that. Words of Wisdom Wednesday. So, anyway, but before we go here, Amelia, you know what we have to do. You have to do a little moving and grooving, and then we'll go meet Amelia and hear what words of wisdom she's going to share with us today. I love this song. Sometimes I don't know why. At times seem to go by so fast. In the twinkling of an eye. Let's enjoy it while we can. Let's enjoy it while we can. Let me share my Lord. Help me share my love. On the dark end of the street. Hey guys. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So let's just take a deep breath. Blow it out. Take another deep breath. And blow it out. And let's go meet Amelia. Come on. Hello, Amelia. How you doing? Hanging out at the spa. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Feeling relaxed. Feeling wonderful. Happy to be with you.
Well, and I'm happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. Amelia, my guys know what I look like, but I'm going to have you do a brief visual description of your beautiful self before we start our interview. So,
Thank you. Happy to do so. I am a Black woman, brown skin, with a blue. This is the second day I have blue on, with a blue, like almost aqua themed sundress on. My hair is black. It's natural in 2 braids, and I have some twists in the front of my hair. And I have this lovely background of a resort that I'm going to start living into because I need a vacation.
I hear you. I know. I love this place. So anyway, Amelia, I always love to start my interview with this. how would you describe yourself if you were doing your 30-second, 40-second elevator pitch? Because we all get on the elevator and pitch ourselves. But if you were going to describe yourself as an artist, as a human, as a beautiful person on this planet, what would that be? If you were going to say, "Hi, I'm Amelia," what is your elevator pitch?
Hi, I'm Amelia, a talented bucket full of wild, focused fun.
I love that. And you are a improviser, you're an artist, you're a writer, you also are a teaching artist. So
Mhm.
when was there a moment in your life, I think we all, or maybe we have more than one, when you said, yeah, this is what I want to do. What was that moment in young Amelia's life, or when you just knew that a journey as an artist was the journey that you were going to be on?
So it's funny, right? My mother figured it out before I figured it out. So I'm convinced that all mothers know everything, or at least my mother knows everything. So when I was little, she put me in every performance group, and I didn't really fully cotton to it, right? It wasn't really my thing. At first, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Then I found out that you had to clean out cages and have to put animals to sleep, and I was like, nope, that's not going to work. Then I was actively working to become a chef. Like I was like 12 or 13, and I was, going to food fairs and all that stuff, and learning how to, do sugar work. I was really into it. And then it happened. The Cosby Show. I'm fully dating myself, y'all. The Cosby Show. And God bless her. I know I'm just going to be honest about it. I was watching Tempest Bledsoe and thought, wow, I can definitely do better than that. And she's a wonderful person, and she was a child star, and I thank her for being there to make the road for young women like the little girl who produced and wrote her own movie Little. But like,
We're gonna talk about that now.
God bless that baby. But I was just like, wow, I know I can do better than this. And I went on my first audition, or at least the first audition I was cognizant of. My mother had taken me on audition for Sesame Street years prior.
Oh.
Oh, I tanked it. I tanked it bad from what she said. I was like, I didn't want to talk to these people. I was like, I don't know you. But I was cute. That's about it. She was like, they thought you were cute. They just didn't understand why you wouldn't speak. I was Michigan J Frog, all up in that joint. But I went on the audition. It was for a show called Kids Court, and it was an open call. And I, put on my best little ridiculous 80s clothes, and I thought I was cool. I went in and I was chosen to play a lawyer, which was kind of ironic since my family's all in law, on the show. And I went and I did my first booking when I was 13, 14, somewhere around there, 12, 13. And I beat out like thousands of other kids. And I felt really good about that. I was like, this is what I do. I feel alive. This is what I want to do. And I started from there. And like, I've taken breaks. I've done things off and on, and had different focuses, but went to school for it. For the most part, that's what I've been working in for the last years.
Mm-hmm.
Years.
I got a few more years on you. But, so what was it? What was it about that young? I mean, what was it about it that made it feel like? Was it the imagine how you got to use your imagination? Was there something specific that made you go, yeah?
It was thrilling. It was thrilling, and it wasn't the same. And I felt at ease. Like I felt at ease. Many years later. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put this in the audio description. I'm also a larger woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there might be times in my personal life, when I say personal life, I mean my walking up and down the street, where I might be conscious of how much my largeness may impact another human being. Or when I was in school as a very young child, I got, teased because kids are jerks. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying I'm Ricky Lake in that movie. Talk about, I'm so sad, I'm sad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I transcend whatever my corporeal being is. When I'm doing what I do, there are no knee pains. There is no issues. There's no nothing. It's like I am anything and feel as if I am anything. And I dare you to tell me different. Like that type of confidence within it shows up because I'm a relatively confident person in my regular life, but the confidence on stage is a whole different animal. Or you know, in front of a camera. My love is stage, but hey, camera work make money. So I've learned to love it, even though it's not about the actor. Yeah, like that transcendency, that ability to be anything, be anyone, come from any time, say anything, have that reach. It's the most powerful, I think, I feel at any time when I can keep that room listening to me, understanding what I have to say for us.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Wow. And I did say Amelia and I met working together on 90s sitcom and Afrofuturism improv, so that's how I know her. So what the young, child, so did you go take, how did you continue to study your craft? What was that early, how did your journey progress?
Okay. These are all great questions. Like I don't think I've ever like been this completely forthright with the whole journey. Wow. Diana, you get a lot of stuff out of people. I wound up, taking that whole performance group thing that my mother started and actually running with it on my own. There was a group in New York City. I'm based in New York City, and that's where I grew up as well. And was born, haha, native New Yorker, what? Brooklyn in specific. But there was a group called City Kids. And, it was about social activism. It was activism plus arts. So it was just like it just married well. My mother and my grandmother, I remember going to protests. I remember having this joint called Black Economic Survival using one of the stores that used to be part of a old apartment building we used to have. And like I remember these things. So the activism piece with the art piece just seemed like the perfect thing.
Right.
And we were all about youth empowerment and each one teach one. And people were working, right? It was an organization where folks were really in the business. Like Malik Yoba was in that joint, Renly Santiago, who was in Dangerous Minds, Donald Faison. Like there was a lot of people in the group.
Right.
Anna Nicole Carson? No, Lisa Nicole Carson. She was in that joint too. Like they did stuff with like Quincy Jones, this, that, and the other. It was definitely in that real world. And there were some kids that were actually on Broadway in the group. It was definitely in that vein. And there was also such a focus on social activism where it was like you had two paths and you could blend the two. And I met some great people that I still know now. I went into that group and it just activated me even more to keep the activism portion of my life alive and the artist part of my life. So, you go off to college because my crazy behind West Indian family was not going to hear nothing of the sorts of I'm not going to college. No. So I took my happy tail to Brooklyn College. I got my BFA there. Then I almost came out to your coast, but financial aid was interesting. I got accepted to CalArts for grad school and didn't avail myself of the opportunity fully due to circumstances like finance. And I've just stayed in the business ever since, in some respect. And I've taken pauses, but it always brings you back. It just always brings you back.
And do you mind when you're taking the pauses, has it just been just to replan. I talk a lot about self-care. One of the reasons I do these is I think resiliency and self-care is such an important tool in our journey that we need to have. And I don't always feel artists are really great at self-empowerment and self-care. So when you get the pauses, is that part of the reason? Do you mind if I ask? Or
Well, mostly it was financial
okay,
because I couldn't afford to do theater at the level. The time commitment was so much that I couldn't make like rent money.
right,
So it was a matter of having to put it as secondary as opposed to first. And the focus was on how can I make these dollars.
right,
And they weren't complete. Like I never have left completely, but I've several times had to make the choice that this goes first as opposed to the art. And that's how it was. Self-care, and yes, it's incredibly important. Self-care is incredibly important. And I can say, as a grown human now, only in the last, I'd say maybe decade, I've learned that that's a really big, important part of the conversation. And only I could say maybe over the last 3 or 4 years have I really embraced that there are some jobs I don't need to take, and there are some places that are not healthy, and there are some places that do make me thrive, and there are places I prefer to be, and that it's not always about the fame or the remuneration.
right,
And that's the thing. If you're in this just for the money and the fame, get out of it.
right,
That's not the point. If that's really what you're chasing, it's not the point. Because like I remember when I was just starting out in a real way, a gentleman I was so happy I got some extra work, and my teacher had sent me to AFTRA, and I was so happy, and he'd helped me, and I was so happy and so proud. And I was on the show, and one of the gentlemen said, acting is about endurance. How long can you stay in before it makes you leave or before you make it? And make it looks like different things to different people.
exactly. I totally agree. So I know you uh, love improv like I do, and you that's how we met. And improv to me is specific. It's broad, but there's a specific type of art form that improv brings. So, what is it about improvisation and doing improv? And you are part owner of one of the comedy sports you teach. So, what is it about this particular art form that you love, that you not only love but also love to teach? And if you could share that, I would love that.
Yet again, great question. It's an expansion on that idea of you can do anything, and it's the most, in my opinion, and purely my opinion, just what's in my head. It's the most accessible form of art. Sorry, I choked on water. That's just sad. The most accessible form of art that we all use. There is nobody on the planet who does not improvise.
Right.
And they don't realize it, right? Because you'll get people in a class, especially adults. Oh, adults. Oh, they're so sad. It's like, guys, you don't know what I'm going to say. So you don't know what you're going to say. Now, you might be planning what you're going to say.
Right.
But still, you don't know that it's going to come out exactly the way you've planned it. No matter what's going on in your head right now. I could literally just say, bark, and then you have to deal with that.
Right.
Right? And you can ignore it, but then that's not having a conversation. That's kind of doing a monologue and talking to yourself. Also, I also do believe that more positive, forward-moving communication creates possibilities, because everything happens in a conversation, whether we think it does or not. And I think especially for children of color, Black children, they need that. They need that to be able to get through the insanity that they have to deal with. Being able to express yourself in a more full-throated way,
Right.
in a more open way, and to be able to hear in that same fashion might save your life.
Right.
And I'm not being hyperbolic, it might.
And what I also love about it for me is as a artist educator is when uh, all the barriers become broken down, because if you have a challenge reading, that's not an issue because there's no script. There's no script. There's no there's total freedom, and you can still go through all the emotional places, but you don't have to worry about what's my next line, because the next line is happening in the moment, and that's why I think that's why another reason why I love it is like, oh, it just all happened in the moment. So I want to ask, how do you think that has applied to you when you're doing scripted material, when you're working on scripted material?
Yet again, another great question. It allows you to find the newness all the time, because when you're doing something that's scripted and you're doing it more than once, like, because a theater run might be, anywhere from 2 weeks to 10 years. Like,
Right.
who knows? I wish I had 10 years. At least a year. You have to find a newness to it. And the newness I think you find is in the listening of it, right? Like if your scene partner says something and your brain is taking it in and you're actively listening to it, that delivery is going to be that much more different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time. Because even if the person is giving you the same old,
Right.
this day you might have stubbed your toe. And this thing that they're saying makes your toe hurt even more. You remember the toe being slammed, and that becomes different. No, your intentions aren't different, but the color of what you said may be. And that's the improv, that's the listening, that's the
Right.
understanding things and making things move forward. And also the finding of beautiful beats that aren't always, not everything improvised is verbal.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the physical, right? This could be a day that you turn your head a different way, or you look down, or you close your eyes, or you walk away, or walk a little further away, or whatever the case is. You're still doing what the blocking is. You're still doing what you're supposed to do, but it moves your body differently. It takes on a different way.
And I also think with improv, there's beauty in the silence. That's what I've really learned from learning it lately when I've been doing shows. Is like sometimes there's just beauty in the silence, and if you're fully embodied, you don't need to say anything because I mean, I know we joke about the Pender Problem Theater, but it's not that. It's just the fact, I always still talk about one of my favorite movie scenes from Love Actually, when Emma Thompson, she opens, I'll just say this about the son, Emma Thompson, who I love. She's married and she finds this beautiful necklace hidden in her husband's drawer and figures this her Christmas present. So she puts it away. Then on Christmas, he hands her a gift and it's a CD. And she realizes in that moment he's having an affair. And she doesn't, I get chills right now. She doesn't say anything. You just see her look at the CD. And then they flashed, the camera wise, they flashed through the lover, putting the necklace on, but you see her looking at the CD and she goes, oh. And it's like one of the most amazing things, but to me, it's about that beauty in the silence, and I think that's something else that we forget as improvers, that they have silence.
I do think that's something more that, because the idea of long form and short form, I think that's something more that long form people embrace because they have the time,
Yeah.
or or because they perceive they have the talent. And I think short form folks have a tendency to not think they have the time
Mm.
because the scene is supposed to be under a certain amount, or the
Right.
perception is supposed to be under a certain amount of time. But that, and also depends on what your malfunction is, right?
Right. Right.
If you're a chatter and you're like, oh, silence freaks me out, can't have that. But yeah, it's silence is only a problem if it's inactive, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Because if you talked all the time, you'd be hoarse, wouldn't you?
Well, let me, because you do both. Do you have a preference for short? Because I know comedy both to more short form. Do you have a preference to short form or long form improv?
I think I prefer short form because of the community that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to sound real shady, and I'll be completely honest with you. I find a lot of long form folks take themselves too seriously. It's like, chill, bruh. Like, or like, and I tend to like an underdog.
Right.
Short form tends to be the one they spit upon. And it's like, nah, man, it's harder to have a beginning, middle, and end in a 4 to 6 minute scene than
Right.
it is to do in an hour-long scene,
Right.
or hour-long Herald or what have you.
Right.
And and uh, yet again, my opinion, there's not as many rules in a short form situation. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of do what works, and you find the thing, the game of it.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it's faster to find, and both are riddled with white straight men who try to minimize you. But I think it's easier to break from that minimization in 6 minutes than in an hour.
Wow.
I feel because the young white straight boy is a lot of issue,
Yeah.
and I don't deal with them anymore. Now that I'm the chick and one of the chicks in charge, it's a little different where I am. But I hope as we come back and things reopen, people take a better look at that particular aspect.
What's it like? Cause you run now that you run a comedy sport. So what's that difference when you take off your actor hat and you wear your producer hat? What are you, what's important to you as a producer and for creating an inclusive environment for artists to work in?
Well, I never take off my actor hat, first thing.
Okay.
And I never, because I believe it assists you in. I know the company I'd want to work for, and
Right.
I continue to try to create that company
I
or have
see that.
conversations
Right.
with the other three partners and the managers we have to create that company, the
Mhm.
one where you can breathe in, breathe out, and not worry about the nonsense you worry about other places.
Right.
And have some of the things that I found egregious in the improv world outside of me, like the not paying people to work thing. I find that problematic. Um, or at least not getting their consent, like making it mandatory as opposed to asking them, "Are you cool with this?"
Right.
Because some of our shows are not paid. We
Right.
have the weekly show, and that was not paid. We are fixing that now. We're trying to fix that now, but but that had been the system of the way things were, and we can change the way things are, right? I think it's also embracing that nothing is fixed. If we're going to be improvisers on stage and dealing yes and possibility, how how does it make sense not to do that in our everyday, right? How does it make sense not to do that in the way in which we create space? If the listening is large on stage, why isn't the listening large off stage?
Right.
Like, why would I not accept who you're being in this moment with me? That, and also, no jerks are allowed. That's the big part of the thing. If we smell jerkdom, you got to go. You can't stay here. And I understand that. I think that's the thing that's hardest about being in charge in any way, shape, or form, of having and I don't love confrontation. And I think a lot of people who are artists aren't particularly in love with it due
Right.
to some of the things we have in common of, I don't know, like some, like I said, those malfunctions. Um, Sometimes you got to go, listen, what you're doing doesn't work.
Right.
And you're hurting, or not hurting, but you're creating a situation that's not prime for everybody else.
Right.
So either you choose to be part of what we're creating, or you choose to not be, or we tell you you can't be
Wow.
because you've chosen not to be.
I love it. I love it. Oh, this has been so awesome. I could talk to you for 3 hours, but that. So I'm gonna do one more thing. I'd love to do this. How do you define success?
Comfort. Let me explain. Not being worried about the needs in your life, like, food, shelter, bills, having a little extra to assist others, and to, be, cool with going on trips and doing things like that. Having enough and doing what you
Mm-hmm.
like doing work that really thrills you, being on projects that you enjoy, and having time to do nothing.
Cool. I love it. Oh, Amelia, thank you so much for coming and sharing your words of wisdom.
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're very welcome. And listen, all my guys know I start and every class on YouTube that I do, Moving and Grooving. So what is a song that you love?
I do love some Dua Lipa, Levitating.
All right, let me go look for that. I got it, and we are gonna rock out. Okay, here.
My mother and I will sing this and be foolish the whole time. Oh, yeah.
All right. Amelia, thank you for joining us. Guys, I love you. I miss you.
I miss you too.
My Thursday class.